Story time about the psycho neighbor that stalked me. So, when I graduated college, I moved into a new apartment. When I first got there, I was moving my things in, and my neighbor introduced himself and helped me move a couple of things upstairs. After we had got done, he asked for my number, but I told him I wasn't really looking for a relationship. But he said, let's just swap numbers just in case, a fire happens. So I gave him my number and I really didn't think nothing of it. Maybe a week later, he starts knocking on my door and giving me gifts just about every day, like teddy bears and flowers. Then maybe about 2 weeks later, I told him to stop because I wasn't really interested in him. So the next day, I wake up to make coffee and take out trash. When I pass my living room, the teddy bear gift that my neighbor gave me makes a click noise. When I quickly rip the teddy bear open, it's a camera inside. Like for part 2 about the psycho neighbor that stalked me. So, like I said earlier, the teddy bear gift that my neighbor had gave me makes a clicking noise. When I quickly rip the teddy bear open, it's a camera inside. And I go into a panic mode. Out of nowhere, there's a knock on my door, and it's my neighbor. He says, "Good morning, it's me again. You left your trash too close to the curb, so I moved it for you." I realized that my door was still open, so I try to run over and lock the door, but he just opens it. I yell at him, telling him to get out. He closes the door behind him and says, "That's no way to talk to a neighbor." I start backing up. He looks over and sees that I ripped the teddy bear apart. I didn't know what else to do, so I just ran to my room. And he chases after me and pulls my hair. Like for part 3. Part 3 about the psycho neighbor that stalked me. So he comes in, I run into my room, and he chases after me. Before I could get up, he pulls onto my hair and starts dragging me towards the kitchen. I saw the coffee that I had made earlier, and I was able to pick it up and throw the hot coffee in his face. He starts screaming loud, and I took that chance to run into my room and lock the door. I immediately start calling the police, and from there, it sounded like he ran out of my apartment. When the cops came, they're doing an investigation, and all the gifts that he gave me all had cameras in them. And when I told them about my neighbor, they did some digging, and come to find out, that man wasn't even my neighbor. He didn't even live at the apartment complex. Story time on how I got caught stealing tampons. Yes, I know tampons. Anyways, this was when I was in 6th grade, and at the time, I didn't even start my period. But my best friend Katrina did. She'd get really cute pads and tampons, the one with butterflies and flowers. And I was so jealous because I wanted to keep those cute packets in my purse and take them into the bathroom. So one day after school, I go into a pharmacy and I see the exact same tampons that my friend Katrina had, but they were like $24 and I didn't have that. So I stuffed a box of tampons in my book bag and I tried to walk out. But before I get close to the door, an employee stops me and takes me into a room. And guys, when she found out what I stole, I didn't even get in trouble. She actually bought them for me, and she bought me Tylenol.
So this is why you should always get STD checked. Back in 2017, I met this girl, and for the purpose of the story, we're just going to refer to her as Ava. Ava and I had a very rocky friendship, to say the least. She immediately showed very toxic behavior, but I didn't know just how toxic she could get until this one night. I was sitting there hanging out with her at a little get-together when it was brought to my attention that she had been sleeping with my boyfriend. I sat down with her absolutely furious and told her that I knew she was sleeping with him. She denied it over and over and over again until I told her that I had proof of it. Once she was aware of this, she told me that she just did this to piss me off. And so that's when I decided to confront my boyfriend and let him know that I knew. And he did not deny it at all. Realizing that I didn't want to take the mature route, I decided to get revenge immediately. Ava's boyfriend and I had had a thing before him and Ava, so I decided to call him up. After I explained to him the entire situation about his girlfriend cheating on him too, he was down to hook up. I went to his house that night and we linked. I thought justice had been served, but the next day I walked into my house and I was completely robbed and I found a bump on me. Stay tuned and follow my Insta. Storytime part 2 about how me, my best friend, my boyfriend, and her boyfriend all got herpes. After I walked back into my house and immediately noticed that I had been robbed, I knew who had done it. My dad can be extremely bad at locking the door, so Ava had literally opened the door, walked into my house, breaking in, and took my bongs and my weed. I was absolutely furious, and later that day, I literally found a bump on me, like down on my lady purse. I waited 3 days thinking it was just no big deal, but then I decided to go to a doctor. So I went in and the doctor was asking me questions and figuring out my sexual history. He asked to take a look at it and said he would call me in a few days with the test results. Well, I got a call a few days later saying that I'd come back positive with herpes. So I called up Ava and I was like, hey, like, you know you have herpes, right? So she had also given it to my boyfriend as well. So all 4 of us had herpes. I was like, I hope y'all like living with a permanent STD. Today, literally none of us talk and we aren't in the same relationships either. So don't be friends with toxic people and stay protected. If you guys have a story time you'd like to share, follow me and DM it to me on Instagram. Be careful on who you decide to meet up with on a dating app because you might just end up on a date with a narcissist. When I was in Denver, I ended up matching with a really hot 39-year-old who also happened to be a lawyer. I recently called off an engagement, so casually dating other people was kinda in the books for me. Before meeting him, I made sure I took all the usual precautions. We made it very, very clear what our boundaries were and said that there was no expectations. So like either of us could leave after a drink and it would be totally fine. Also, we made sure to FaceTime and he seemed super sweet, totally normal. However, the second we sat down, it seemed like he was on drugs. He would literally talk a million miles an hour about himself and wouldn't let me get a breath in. And the stuff he was bringing up was just odd. Like he even included that he broke off an engagement too. Hold on to that thought. 2 drinks in, this man leans over and says, I've been diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenic disorder, but I didn't want to talk about it over text. Because I don't know a whole lot about those mental disorders, I felt a little uncomfy. I also didn't feel like that was a first date topic. Then he literally starts joking about murdering me and states that he would use my dead body for Face ID to text my friend that I'm safe so the timing is off for the investigation. Like for part 2. Part 2 of going on a date with a narcissist. So I start getting uncomfy and getting ready to leave. He offers to call a car and I say, oh no, it's fine, you got my drink, I'm just gonna go. And he gets confused and he's like, wait, what's going on here? Are we not going home together? I expressed that I was just tired and I wanted to get back to my hotel so that I could sleep and get on the road in the morning. He could not have been more offended by this and kept trying to make sexual comments to get me to come back to his place. Like, no, that's creeping me out more. So I get into my Uber and I make it home alone. And he texts me, tell Elise I said happy birthday tomorrow. That is my mom's name and it was her birthday tomorrow, but I didn't tell him any of this information over drinks. That's when I realized he had found my Facebook and then he called me. He proceeded to go off and lecture me because he couldn't comprehend why I wouldn't sleep with someone as great as he is. He expressed how much better he is than my ex-fiance, who I never brought up over dinner. This is when he let me know that he did his research on me before even meeting me. And I realized that a lot of the conversations that we had over drinks was him just verifying that I was the same person he found on Facebook. He still contacts me and I don't know what to do or say. Follow for more. My family, who is extremely homophobic, ended up kicking me out and replacing me with my best friend. My family is absolutely awful when it comes to topics about the LGBTQ plus community. Literally any mention of it and they get extremely upset. Which sounds like they're suppressing something to me, but I had a friend that we can call Katie and my family absolutely adored her. Every Christmas they would buy her presents. She would spend family movie night with us and they honestly treated her like she was the favorite daughter. So one day I made the decision to come out and I decided to talk to Katie about it. She was literally so supportive and so respectful that I gained the confidence to talk to my family about it. Bad idea. Health striked and they immediately kicked me out of the house. So I found myself on a schedule of switching from couch to couch at different friends' houses. One particular night that was really hard for me, I decided to go visit them. I was missing them and also hopeful that they might accept me back in. And as I approached the house, my best friend was over there. She was playing games and doing family movie night with them, and so I decided to knock on the door. I burst into tears and went off on all of them. The absolute audacity. Later, my best friend texted me saying that she had a secret. Follow my Insta. Part 2 to my homophobic family kicking me out of the house and replacing me with my best friend. So I cannot believe the audacity of my family literally replacing me with Katie. Not only was she just over there for movie night, but they had actually moved her into my room, the room that I was raised in. I felt so much fury that I had to walk around the neighborhood for a while just to calm down. But eventually I just started to walk back to the house that I was staying at. Once I got in, Katie messaged me. She apologized for being such a bad friend, but then she said she had a secret. And she came out to me as bisexual and begged me not to tell my family. She felt like my family was her own and she didn't want to get kicked out. I was so frustrated that she was keeping the same secret that I had in my house, but she's getting to actually stay at my house. It has been a full year now and she is still with them to this day. But thankfully, I'm now living with my boyfriend and his family has accepted me as bisexual. I am honestly so much happier and better off. If you guys have a story that you'd like to share, follow me and DM me on Instagram.